Welcome to Astro Talk in Hanover, today with a very special guest from Hungary, Budapest, I believe, Levente László. Greetings.
Hi, Volker. Thanks for having me. And well, I need to correct you because I'm not from Budapest, but I'm a little bit away from the capital, like
Okay,
30 kilometers. I live in a small town on the Danube band.
okay, very good. Were you born in Budapest?
No, I was born in northern Hungary in a town called Miskolc.
And what year was that?
Sorry,
What
what
year?
year? Well, it was 1977.
1977. Okay, so I'm a little bit older than you. Okay.
Ah, just a little bit.
Okay. As we talked about beforehand, I would like to start how you how you came about astrology. When do you remember when you heard the term astrology the first time in your life?
Well, I'm afraid I can't say yes to this
Okay.
question because it was really long time ago. Where actually I was born in the Eastern Bloc, behind the Iron Curtain,
Hmm.
and astrological books couldn't be published until the very late period of the communist period.
Yes.
Um, and it was at the end of the 80s where the first books appeared, and that was the time when I bumped into astrology. And
Okay.
ironically, the very first astrological book I learned a lot from was an anti-astrological book,
Oh, okay.
written by an astronomer who described the system of modern astrology quite in a quite detailed way. So I could learn a lot from this book. Moreover, it also had some equations and the sample calculation, how to convert the data of astronomical almanacs uh, to the ecliptic coordinate system used by astrology. So the very first thing when I was in secondary school and I learned trigonometry was to go to the library and to borrow the almanacs and copy the data by hand and transform the equatorial coordinates into ecliptic coordinates fitting for horoscopic analysis. So that was the first time for me. When I did this was in 1993.
Okay. And in 1993, did there in the following years follow something like an education in psychological astrology or not?
I wasn't really interested in in psychological astrology, uh, and at the time there were not there weren't books available about
Okay.
psychological astrology.
Uh,
That was the so-called traditional astrology, which means traditional modern astrology.
Oh, okay.
In the fashion that it was practiced at the beginning of the 20th century, in the first half of the 20th century. So
So
it's
that,
about character analysis and also
yeah, okay.
the course of life and things like that. So not
Okay.
psychology proper, but a bigger bunch of issues.
Volker Lechler, Dr. Volker Lechler had did a PhD dissertation on the astrology in the Weimar Republic. Uh, could be that you somehow in Hungary learned what they did in the Weimar Republic in Germany.
Exactly, exactly. Uh, the astrologers, Hungarian astrologers of the early 20th century, the first half of the 20th century, because after that, astrology was in effect banned in the communist state. They were really influenced by German astrologers.
Okay, so there's
Uh,
Weimar Republic astrology,
exactly, exactly.
Ebertin, Reinhold Ebertin, and the Zenit, the journal, and all those things. Okay,
Exactly, exactly.
okay.
And after the fall of the regime, uh, the same genre of astrology was revived. So
Okay.
the very first modern, let's say modern astrological book, a textbook in about astrology, was published in 1993, That was the one from which I learned, the basics of the calculations, for example, and things like that, and analysis. Um, and this remained in fashion in Hungary even now.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, but actually, during these years, I did some readings and I read a lot. So what I could put my hand on, of course, but I wasn't really 100% happy with this type of astrology.
Okay.
And the turning point was when in 2003 I read the book of John Frawley, The Real Astrology.
Okay. Okay.
When I've had that, oh yeah, that's it. So
So
uh,
you became a Frawley fan?
I wouldn't say I became a Frawley fan. I would say that his presentation of classical astrology, I mean,
Yes.
not the modern type of astrology, um, raised my interest.
Okay.
So I went back to in time from William Lilly through Bonatti
Mm-hmm.
and the Islamic astrologers like Abu Mashar, who I could
Okay.
I could read in Latin translations back to the ancient astrologers, to Hellenistic astrologers.
You were born 1977. So when did you finish high school?
I finished high school in 1996.
In 1996. That's 19 years old. Okay. And what happened then?
Well, I went to university. I studied Latin and Greek
Why?
and
Why
some
did
other
you?
things
Why
because
did you?
I was just interested,
Okay.
I was interested, and but initially it was completely unrelated to astrology. So what I was interested in was linguistics first, and then I did some studies in history of religions. I also wanted to pursue a PhD course related to the mysteries of Mithras, a Roman
Okay.
cult.
Okay.
But it faithfully, I couldn't start my PhD studies then in 2005. So I went back to my PhD studies much later in 2016.
Now, to decide I want to study Latin and Greek classic languages in university, was that something where you were a sort of outside freak? Nobody else wanted to do that from your colleagues from high school, or were there a lot of comrades from your high school who were doing something like that?
Yeah, yeah, mostly the first scenario.
Okay.
In the 90s, and Hungary was, an era of changes. Nobody really knew which direction the world was going to. There were some streams that tried to refer back, to the earlier periods of the first part of the first half of the 20th century, the classical education and things like that. Also, there were debates about whether compulsory Latin should be brought back to school, because it used to be compulsory for high school students. Also, some Greek was compulsory. So at the time, that was the era right before the internet. I didn't really know, and my peers didn't really know much about the word,
Okay.
well, in what direction the word was advancing. So we had some idealistic ideas about our futures. I didn't really know what I would do in my future.
Okay.
So
So
I,
this
I
was the decision to study Latin and Greek and classics was not driven by the idea to become a teacher in high school.
well, that was part of the possibilities.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was part of the possibilities, and that I actually did teach Latin in high school for a year.
Okay. When you were studying these subjects, how large were the classes? Have you been 10 pupils or 20 pupils or 100 in the room when you did
Well,
study?
like a dozen
Well,
for
12
each
people,
year.
12. 12 people in the room.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. More or less. Like, you know, I was born in a peak, uh, generation of peak during a generation of peak. So there are a lot of people, born in these years,
Oh, okay.
uh, and that's why there were a little bit more than nowadays, I guess.
Okay.
So let's say in the Latin classes we were like 12 or 15. In the Greek classes, like seven.
Oh, okay. But still small.
Yes.
For university courses, I was studying law in Tübingen, and we were 300 in the room.
Well, yes, that's a
Uh,
completely different thing. I also attended the University of Law for a year, and there were like 200
yeah,
people.
okay, same thing. Okay, in university in Hungary, it's not the American style education, college and postgraduate studies, but it's like in Germany, I believe, a typical university. You go into Latin and Greek from the beginning after your high school.
Yeah, exactly. At that time, at least that was that system.
Oh, okay,
So we had a 5-year curriculum,
okay,
and it also included for the last semester teachers education. So
yeah.
I'm a qualified teacher actually.
And you finished your studies with a Magister Artium or Master of Arts, something?
Yes, officially, yes, I'm an MA. Yes.
MA. And that was in the year 2001, something like that?
Yeah, it was expected to be. Yeah, but I spent a lot of time doing a lot of things. So finally, I obtained my MA in 2005.
What did you do besides your studies to prolong this thing? What was the
Well,
activity?
well, actually, I also studied law for
Okay,
a year.
okay.
I studied Greek, which I started later, so that's how it turned out to be this way. And also at for example, the final years of university, I already started publishing, um, I mean scholarly publishing. So fun,
What sort of publishing?
publishing scholarly articles and
Oh,
publishing a
okay.
monograph. So I actually, funnily enough, I was an editor in chief and a co-author of a monograph of about the mysteries of Mithras,
Oh,
which
okay.
was right in the press while I was finishing my university.
So in
So
2005, you were a Magister Artium, and then you have the certificate in your hand, and now the question arises, what do I do with the Magister Artium in Latin and Greek? It's not really what the companies look for, really.
right, that's right. So I also did some various works like I worked as a printer operator. I worked in a school. I taught this, Latin in a secondary school. I worked in a language examinations center for 6 years. I was
Oh,
examining.
that's a long time. So in a center for what did you say? The center where you were
Language language examinations.
language examinations.
Hmm.
What did they examine?
Well, yeah, if you want to prove that you have a certain level of knowledge in a language, you go to a language examination center,
Oh, okay.
and then you take an exam, and you will have this document.
Was it just examination or teaching as well?
No, it is just examination.
I don't think we have something like that. Okay, but that means you had a job for 6 years there, full-time job.
Well, it wasn't a full-time job because there were some periods,
Oh,
it's
okay,
like there were like examination periods like 2 or 3 times a year.
okay,
In other languages, there were these periods were more frequent, like
okay,
every month or something.
okay,
Um, yeah, you know, there are these language exams solutions everywhere. There are German language exams,
yeah,
specific
okay.
German exams, and English exams, and things like that. But Latin. and minor languages were only examined in a single center. So
Okay, okay.
that was the place where I worked. So during this time, I worked as an English teacher.
Okay, interesting. But somehow, someday, you decided, I want to go back into sort of an academic career.
Mm.
How did that come about?
Well, as I said, I started publishing articles about Latin linguistics and later about mysteries of Mithras, so a subject related to history of ancient religions um, uh, in the early 2000s, and also parallelly with my studies in classical astrology, as I said, going back in time, reading more about or not about, but reading more William Lilly, Bonatti, Islamic authors and Hellenistic authors, I started to feel that I had so this interest was not like superficial, but I was really interested in the mechanics and in the reasons, in the explanations, everything. And also, during these years, didn't really go a professional astrologer because I wasn't really comfortable with this position.
Okay.
But I had some I designed a course in classical astrology in 2007, and I
Okay.
had some seasons with students from Hungary and Austria. And also went to Austria to teach people there in Vienna. Um, but somehow I just felt that this wasn't my real so that really didn't really square with my personality and with my intentions. So I
But
stepped back.
okay, but
I stepped back.
before we continue on that path, that means there are three groups of people. There are astrologers, practicing astrologers and students and lay people. That's one group. Then you have the academic people who study old texts and belong more or less to the academic field of the history of astrology. And then you have a third group who belongs or belonged to the first group and then changed to the academic field of history of astrology. And these people know about their horoscope. So you belong to that group, right?
Yes, I would say that. I would say that.
Okay.
Yes. Um,
Because
so
I was rather intrigued when I was talking with Professor Hunger in Austria, in Vienna,
mhm,
who was researching as on an academic level the Mesopotamian cuneiform things.
yes.
He never looked at his own horoscope, so he have never seen it. And there's quite a number of academics who have never looked at their own horoscope, and I have problems understanding that because if you study texts about astrology and you are not interested in how your own horoscope looks like, it's difficult for me to know what to do with that. But that's not the problem today. So you decided I want to go deeper back into academic field. And what was your goal? What was your vision? What did you want to do when you made this turn?
Well, that's a very good question because it's always the question what people want to do with certain decisions. But actually, it wasn't like that. I just felt that I was more interested in this subject than to remain um, an outsider. So I wanted to dig deeper into that. I wanted to do some research. I wanted to write articles and things like that. And also, as I said, that I didn't really feel that was my direction to teach astrology, to practice astrology as a professional astrologer. Um, so I went. It was incidental because as I said, I was an English teacher at the time, and And there was a woman in a class of mine who was a PhD student in a program called History and Philosophy of Science, and I talked to her, and I felt that, oh wow, why couldn't I do the same? So I
Yeah.
applied. I applied and I was admitted, and I spent a couple of years there. First at one university, and then the program changed, and we were transferred into another university. So basically, I finished my PhD at the same university where I started with my MA.
Okay.
Um, and during that, for example, we also had the opportunity to teach classes at university.
Okay.
So
But but
I
that's a
had a
little.
class about astrology.
I'm not, oh, interesting. I'm not sure I understand that quite right. Is that did your application and you were accepted? For what were you accepted? To do a PhD with a certain thesis, or to do uh, 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 post MA studies generally? Was
Mm,
it a teaching program where you
No,
attended? What
no,
was
that
it?
was a PhD program.
And did you have the thesis team which we you finally finished from the beginning, or what did that change?
Well, yeah, it's changed. During the time, when I started, I was interested in the beginnings of Horoi astrology, and I
Okay,
was focusing more on Mashallah.
okay.
But then I saw that there is more.
So you had a thesis theme in your PhD curriculum. I want to do a thesis on the origins of Hawaii.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. And that is the reason why you talked with Chris Brennan about this in 2018, I believe.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. And then you changed the subject. Why?
Well, it wasn't a change of the subject. It basically it was um, a broadening of the subject. So I felt that I could say more about the early origins,
Okay.
and I also felt the horoscopes of this fifth century astrologers
Okay.
of the Emperor Zeno, which are the earliest inceptions.
Okay, so
Uh,
now
uh,
we come to the theme of today's talk because we have two talks. The first talk is about your dissertation, and the second talk is about your Horoi project. And I take the computer, and on the site cosmology.vonabisw.de, there is a subsite, Talk with Astrologer and Academic Historian Dr. Phil Levente László. By the way, Levente and Laszlo, ChatGPT says it's both as a first name. Is that in Hungary both his first names?
Well, yeah, that's a funny thing. Yes, Laszlo is a very common first name in Hungary,
And why is
but
it yours?
actually this is my family name.
Why is that?
Well, I guess it happens everywhere. So
Oh, okay.
there are first names you used as family names everywhere in the world.
Okay. In the second part today, we will talk about this, the Horror Project, but now we are talking about the dissertation, the PhD dissertation, the Astrological Inceptions of the Emperor Zeno's Anonymous Astrologer.
Okay.
And the dissertation is to be found on this subsite and exactly here. But before we start that, for people who want to know more about your activities, I have a playlist. And if you click on this playlist, you find this is a video with Chris Brennan. This is a video with Luis Ribeiro. This is a documentation of your part in the 2023 conference in Portugal with your lecture. This is a very interesting presentation in the Helena Avila seminar with Luis Ribeiro, which I enjoyed very much, this one,
Oh,
because
thank
it's
you.
about 11th century and a compendium of Byzantine astrology with interesting practical approaches, what they did in those days. I was very much intrigued about the zodiacal releasing, which you were talking about in that talk.
Hmm.
Then we have the whole conference of Portugal. I was discussing that with Luis Ribeiro, and then here's my talk with Elena Avila, and here's my talk with Luis Ribeiro, so that's not with you. But the first videos are all about and with you. And now we go into the dissertation. And
Right.
it's right here. Okay. Now, first question. Doctoral School of Philosophy. This is what you mentioned, the final school you were in doing the dissertation. What is that Doctoral School of Philosophy in your university in Budapest, I believe?
Yeah. Okay. So the first of all, I started the PhD studies at a different university and in a different school.
Why was that? Where was that?
That was the Budapest University of Technology and Economics, which has philosophy department, and it
Okay.
had um, a doctoral school of history and philosophy of science, as the one that I mentioned. Now, after 2 years, this school became defunct because
Oh,
some administrational changes, and all the students of this doctoral school were transferred to the Eötvös Loránd University, uh,
okay.
where which is the biggest university in Hungary, actually, located in Budapest, and where we were transferred into different programs depending on our mm, research topics and dissertation
And
topics.
and what program were you landed in?
I landed in the ancient and medieval philosophy doctoral
Okay.
program because when we talk about philosophy, philosophy is let's say it's a field of studies that encompasses things that cannot be classified otherwise.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when when people, for example, deal with the history of science, and there is no history of science department anywhere, at least not in Hungary, then it is part of philosophy.
Okay.
So that's why philosophy is like
Uh,
humanities in general.
It's an umbrella for
Yes,
everything else. Okay.
yes,
Okay. Now the second question I have, your first evaluator, is that correct? The one named as in the first place is the first evaluator, and Anna Judith is the second evaluator. Is that correct?
yes,
This was intriguing. Stefan Heilen is not a Hungarian. Stefan Heilen is a very famous German professor in Osnabrück. He
yes.
is a student of Wolfgang Hübner, which was very well known in the history of astrology in Germany. He did a lot of work in research on Manilius and many, many, many other things. So how did it come about that Stefan Hein, professor in Osnabrück, became an evaluator in Hungary?
Well, that's very simple. Actually, there are no astrology experts in Hungary.
Okay, very good. That's very simple and very easy to understand. Now we have the contents. Okay, and we will go into the details. Okay, to show the people, this is the printed version of the doctoral thesis. My when I was talking when I in our email correspondence, you said it will not be printed as a book. And I was surprised about that because if you look at Ben Dykes, who did this with Amazon, all his books are print on demand. Why don't you do a print on demand with your dissertation?
Well, in academic publication, that is not really usual to print books on demand, at least in several countries. Which is more usual is that people revise their PhD thesis dissertation after a couple of years, and this revised version is published by a big academic
Oh,
publishing
you're
house.
looking at Brill and people like that.
Exactly. Brill, De
Okay.
Gruyter, and places like that. So, for example, there is my friend Luis Ribeiro, who
Yes.
you mentioned, who published his whose PhD dissertation was about Jesuit astrology, and that was a really voluminous dissertation. And he
You're talking about this thing.
yes, but you see that he published his dissertation in a book format at
Yes.
Braille
Yes, I know.
a
Yeah.
couple of years later. But he also, although he said to me that he had worked on his dissertation having a book format in mind.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he needed to revise it only lightly, but he still spent months with that.
Is that a
Uh,
project of yours to become published by Brill?
so that's what I want to say, that I'm not planning to do this because
Oh, okay.
there I have several reasons. One reason is that my thesis is really heterogeneous. So I in my dissertation I put together three things. There is an introduction to the genre of Inceptions, cathartic astrology.
Yes.
There is an addition and commentary of a corpus, 10 cases with translation and commentary, and there is a theoretical part about the possible author, and the related issues. So this is really heterogeneous, and I don't really think that that would make a good book. This is one thing.
Why, why,
This,
why do you think it's not a good book? Because I liked your dissertation. I enjoyed reading it, and I think it's a good book. I would have loved to have it haptically, as they say, as a book. This is not my life quality to, this is nothing good to handle. And instead, for example, if I look at this book, this is a Diamond by Giesler. This is a book. I can, it's haptical.
I can understand you completely. So I also like books and like physical books. But the reasons are that first, I would need to spend a really long time revising it because
No, no,
there
no.
are some things.
Wait a minute. We are talking about different things now. After you have established that you do not want to publish it with Brill because that would create too much problems, which I agree with you. Um, so you are totally free to publish it as a book to your liking. And you know what I would do with this? It's a PhD, it's a PDF, right?
Yes,
You know how long it takes me to publish that? 10
yes,
minutes. 10
exactly.
minutes.
Yeah.
I uploaded on Book on Demand in Norderstedt or on Amazon. And 6 weeks later, the whole world, from New Zealand to Timbuktu, can buy this book at Amazon. There must be a reason why you don't like this. And could it be that you think it's damaging your academic reputation?
I don't
If you,
think so. No, there is a completely different explanation for that.
oh, okay.
The different explanation is that there are still some errors in it.
Oh, now I tell you something what my lifestyle is. I'm following the Pareto principle. You're familiar with
Yeah,
Pareto?
of course.
80-20.
Hmm.
If you would follow my principle, you would publish it right away because errors don't count for Pareto because 20% work and 80% output, the errors belong to the rest of 20%.
Okay, let me say a final reasoning. I spent uh, really long time working on my thesis. Uh, Incidentally, I also had some health issues during this time because
Okay,
we were after the COVID, and I had some issues which
okay,
are gone now, so that's very
yeah,
nice.
okay, okay.
But I remember that at the in the final stage, I was really struggling. So I don't really have good memories about writing this, and
Oh,
and
okay.
and and I have many other things to deal with. So
Okay.
I don't really feel like touching it.
You don't want to have the energy back of that time. Okay, I understand that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into into your text. Okay, we have an introduction, and then we have Katarkic astrology in theory. Um, this is sort of a general introduction in what is Katarkic astrology. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, there are different genres of astrology. The most well-known genre is natal astrology, which deals with nativities, so birth charts or birth constellations, dispositions, the arrangement of the sky at the time of someone's birth. And the natal astrologer's promise is to reveal something about this native's life. Now, of course, what it is set to reveal depends on the more general astrological understanding. So whether we are dealing with predictive astrology or psychological astrology or anything else. But Cartaric astrology, so the astrology of inception, is completely different because it is tied to events when something happens. That something can be when someone becomes really sick, or when someone discovers that a personal belonging is missing, or any other events like, for example, um, inauguration of a building, or inauguration of a new government. Let's say that. Uh, so these are all events, and Katarkic astrology is designed to reveal more about uh, the thing, the entity behind this event.
And on chapter C, you realize you talk about Dorotheus of Sidon. And going back to this conference in Portugal in 2023, there was an interesting situation. Levente László was sitting in in the seminar, and Dorian Gisela Greenbaum was lecturing on the history of horary astrology. I found that intriguing because you had published at that time, I believe your dissertation was online already, right?
Yes,
So basically, and then you did your own talk about
yes.
more or less the same subject. How did you feel when you were sitting there?
It was completely fine. Actually, Dorian uh, did a sort of a parallel a research with
Exactly. You were
me.
parallel researcher in the same field. When was the first time that you did get to know that there was another person doing exactly what you were doing at the same time? When did you first realize Dorian Gisela Greenbaum is doing research on the history of horary astrology, the same thing I'm doing?
I don't think it was a long time before the conference itself, I guess. Yeah. But it is not a problem at all. So it might seem as a coincidence, but I don't think that it's a real rarity
Oh,
that
you
there are
think
more researchers working
on the same subject?
well, on the
Yeah.
same subject, but from different angles. So she did it from a slightly different angle than mine.
And people can watch it for themselves. Both lectures are on the film list. Oh, I forgot this. I have to do this first. Copyright. I have only the right to publish the conversation with Levente László today, uncut and unedited on freely accessible video platforms, no paywalls, and on my homepages. Our guest, Levente László, has the right to shorten, edit, or add as he wishes and to publish it on his websites and video platforms according to his liking. Is that okay with you?
That's very nice, Volker.
Okay, and here is this film list, and in this film list, um, this is the talk of Levento, this one,
Yes.
and let me see that. Where is the talk of? Oh, okay. Where is Gisela? Oh, I have to go to my other side. Okay, I have to go to the channel. Okay. On this channel, there is a playlist. Okay, the Levente László playlist is here. If you find it here, and if you want to go to the conference playlist, you have to go here. And here is Dorian Gilo Gimbaum. Charles Bonnet was there. Professor Schmiedl here is our guest, and Stephen van den Broeke. We have a video with Stephen van den Broeke on the 9th of June. So keep. How do these people always make the check the button for subscribing? Okay, everybody knows what I mean. and so you can find all the conference talks here.
The second one is Dorian's
This one is
talk.
Dorian.
Yes.
This is Dorian Gisler Gimba.
Yes.
And now let's go back to our. Okay. Back to your dissertation. You basically, both of you came to the conclusion that the old opinion was wrong, that orrery as a discipline was invented by the Arabic astrologers, but you found proof, both of you, that orrery astrology was already available in the 2nd century Anno Domini, right?
Yes, but I don't think that this is our finding. I think basically the same ideas had already been expounded by Van Dijk's in his
Yes, I
his
agree with that.
introduction to the book 3 of He Faced Theo.
Okay, now what else do we have here? Katarchic astrology in practice. People can read that by themselves. It's available. The whole thing is available. And then your dissertation comes to the text of this anonymous astrologer who documents 10 cases, which are very interesting to read. And now I want to go a special page, where I want to discuss some things with you.
Very good.
Okay, I have this page here. Early indications are now. I read this passage. Each indicator and argument have individual interpretive values or meanings. I will call these meaningful units, which constitute the astrological counterparts of the worlds of human language, astrological concepts. Consequently, the horizon and similar celestial locations which do not have individual meaning in astrology cannot be called concepts. In contrast, the intersections of the horizon with the zodiac, the ascendant and the descendant defined by the Gitu have meanings and are consequently concepts. This is very heavy language. Could you break that down for our viewers and for myself? What do you mean with this passage?
Well, actually, when I was writing the first part of the dissertation about what is Catarchic astrology and what is the structure of the doctrines, I wanted to use terminologically clear language. So the reason why I had to introduce here some definitions is explained by this purpose. So this is only one paragraph of a longer chapter on terminology.
Okay.
So I guess that if it is read in separately, then it doesn't really give the whole picture about the purpose. So, for example, it doesn't turn out from this very paragraph what I mean by indicator and what I mean by argument, but in general, what I'm talking about here is that astrological doctrines, as they are recorded in the literature.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, if this planet is here and here, this means this and that. These have a syntactical structure. So it's like the sentences, the structure of the sentences of a human language. Of course, this is also human language as they are written there in the literature, but basically this can be understood as a kind of a code. Now I need to name which parts of the code are meaningful in terms of astrology and which are not part of this code. So here, when I talk about concept, the concept means in this case that there are some things that are meaningful in astrology, so they can be used as kind of words in this astrological code, like human word, or like words in the human language, carrying some meanings. But there are other things that are not used, even if they appear in astrological texts as words, they don't constitute parts of these code. And for example, the horizon and some other astronomical, let's say astronomical basics don't constitute words in this code of astrology. So at least they don't have any astrological meaning. So that's the explanation for this really convoluted paragraph.
And the reason why I took this page is in the next paragraph, because you touched on something which is one of my most interesting things. For me, it's most interesting. The single important distinction within concepts is one governed by syntactic rules. It appears that only a specific subset of concepts can stand as indicators. These are the planets, their virtual counterparts, dodecatemoria. And I know this because I have read this so often. This is 12, in English it's 12 parts. The dodecatemoria in the history of astrology is an interesting story. Already Manilius talks about them, and they come from the Mesopotamian background, I believe. And then Firmicus Maternus, in his Mathesis, says basically in every chapter, if you do not delineate the dodecatemoria, forget all about it. How is your opinion? This is a very intriguing thing that Firmicus Maternus stresses. You have to delineate the dodecatemoria. And in my personal case, I agree with him because my ascendant is Sagittarius and the dodecatemoria is Capricorn. And since I know that, I understand myself much better than before. How is your opinion on dodecatemoria?
My answer depends on whether you ask me uh, about my opinion of the historical development or the use
Both,
of
both,
dodecatemoria.
both.
Okay. Um, well, yes, dodecatemoria, so the 12 parts is a really old concept going back to the first millennium BCE at least, maybe even earlier. Yeah, I actually have video about this on Horoi Project about the historical development. Mm, for me, it's quite obvious that from the beginnings, the this sort of subdivision was intended to give a final granularity of interpretations. So dividing the zodiac into 12 parts is fine, but it doesn't really give us the right resolution. So
Okay.
subdividing them, the signs can give some more resolution. The problem is that in this period, or at least for centuries, the computation precision was not enough for computing the categoria
Yes.
really precisely. So so these minor differences and minor errors in the computations could easily make a planet to fall into the wrong dodecatemoria. But this is
Okay.
an aside. If you ask my personal opinion about that, I I don't really do natal astrology
Okay.
uh, for the reason that when I do practical astrology, I'm more interested in actions than in explanations.
Okay.
And but apart from that, I could use dodecatemoria in these practical applications as well. But the reason why I don't use them is because I don't think they are theoretically solid.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Well, actually, that would make a really long conversation, so I try to cut it as short as possible. Um, you know, the reason why the zodiac was divided into 12 signs. So I ask you, you know that. Why was it?
Well, this is a question on your philosophy of astrology. If you have a belief system like I have, that there are real spiritual entities around us, like angels and archangels and seraphim and cherubim, and that there is a soul of the world in the Schelling sense and in the Platonic sense.
But why 12? Why not 15, like, or 16?
And then my answer is you have to ask the seraphim. I don't answer that. That's their problem because they inserted that idea into human mankind because I believe in a system like that. If you have not a belief system which believes in angels and the higher hierarchies of angels, if you are, for example, in your Soviet time, you were Marxist-Leninist, then you have a totally different approach. And between those two positions, everything in between. So the question would be, that gives us the possibility to ask about your belief system. Do you believe in world soul and Platonic astrology, or do you have another belief system than mine?
Well, I would say our belief systems are different, but it is not a problem. I guess that
Okay.
I truly believe that everybody should live their own belief system. Everybody should uh, use to utilize this belief system in every possible ways, and it also applies to astrologers. So I, you know, as I said, I grew up behind the Iron Curtain.
Yes.
The one of the most important feature was that there was no choice. So you
Yes.
went to the clothes shop, shoe shop. You didn't really have the choice. You could buy one or two models, and that's it.
Yes.
So I truly believe in freedom in this field. So I would say that uh, astrologers should practice the astrology they believe in. They they can stand behind, and also I think this is how they can really give service to all kind of people with all kind of beliefs and all kind of needs. But to go back to your question, because I couldn't really address your question, to make it very simple, according to historical research, the reason why there are 12 signs and not 13 or 15 or I don't know is because the zodiac is modeled after the ideal year. The ideal year that consists of 360 days and consists of 12 ideal months. Now, months we know, are based on synodic months. So this is the ideal form of synodic months. But personally, and in my astrological understanding, I don't think that lunisolar phenomena should be used in establishing and dividing the zodiac. I think that naturally we can divide the zodiac into 4 parts by the solstices and the equinoxes, but the further trisecting should not be so strict and should be based on the idea that every single season has a beginning, a middle, and an end. But it can't be so. If it is understood in this way, which I don't say that it is the right understanding, it is one of the possible understandings that come from first principles. If this is constituted or it is defined in this way, then this doesn't allow further subdivisions.
Okay.
And in my astrology, the astrology I practice, it is not even needed.
Okay. When you were doing research in old texts and studying the history of astrology, there is one phenomenon. There are manuals. You, in your case, have a dissertation about concrete cases which were documented by the anonymous astrologer, which was very interesting to read. 10 cases were documented in the other video of the Byzantine astrologers, anonymous as well. You were documenting which techniques they used with this Helen Avenar seminar video. And then if you look at the books of edited by Shlomo Seela about Ibn Ezra, there he discusses all the old ideas and all Abu Mashar and all the Arabics, and then Bonatti comes along, and then later Johannes Schöner in Germany comes along in
Yes,
the Renaissance,
a very important author.
and then we have Cardano, and then we have William Lilly. I will do a talk about Johannes Schöner in German with Professor Östmann in the middle of June. So people who can speak German are recommended to watch this talk about Johannes Schöner, very important astrologer in Germany. And then we have Philipp Melanchthon and Heinrich Ranzer and all those people. And all these people in the Renaissance had the problem, which technique do I apply in my personal astrology? And I found this quote I found rather interesting. Professor Dr. Tamsin Barton had the book Ancient Astrology Sciences of Antiquity, and on page 209, learned astrologers were practicing something like to improvise on the standard themes of astrology like jazz virtuosi, meaning they picked what they liked and they discarded what they didn't like and what didn't work for them. Would you would you think that this approach that Renaissance astrologers had to play on the card of the keyboard of astrology like a jazz musician, and something came up and other things didn't come up? And so we have this situation that basically most of the Kepler is the extreme example, and Morin de Villefranche is another example. They discarded a lot of things. I have my doubts that Kepler could delineate a horoscope with what he left, and that's another story. So, how do you think we could say modern astrology is something like that? People invent something on each astrological conference. Somebody comes up, I invented this, and this is the best thing to delineate horoscopes. A little bit strange sometimes. How did you do this? You had to decide, as you just mentioned, you didn't divide the zodiac in what other people do with it. Would you think that's a good approach, astrology like jazz?
Well, yes, but well, what I say, I often say is a sublime, I would say. So when it comes to practical astrology,
Yes.
I think that it's like a pop fight. So you use every single tool that you can put your hand on.
Even if they are not
Incompatible,
yes, incompatible. That
I
sometimes
would
happens.
yes, I would say yes, of course, yes, of course. There are many incompatibilities within astrology. And I'm not talking about different house systems or different zodiacs only. I
But
also
but but
speak
but but to stop you there, what's your opinion on the whole sign houses?
in my opinion on the whole side, again from a historical
Yeah.
angle and from the practical angle. Well, actually, the historical case is quite obvious. That was the primary house system, and whereas there were some ideas about making it more precise in the way that like using the equal system or later introducing the so-called porphyry system. It was Ptolemy whose words actually inspired astrologers to come up with different house systems.
Yes.
But
I
other
hate I
but
hate I hate that guy, by the way.
well, yes. Let's say that that opinions differ on Ptolemy.
And I
Uh,
enjoyed your video with Luis Ribera about Ptolemy. I really enjoyed that. I recommend that video with you and Luis Ribera about Ptolemy. Oh, this was like manna to hear
all right,
that.
all right. I'm really happy that you say that. So, um, the idea of houses was at least at the beginning was inseparable from the signs because the signs, so the zodiac, the signs and the degrees are the basic units
Hmm.
of of uh, of uh, of astrology, of the astrological, let's say, game board, where everything, the important players, so the planets, are located. So this is the, let's say, the board, the basic board for that. So the other divisions into quadrants and divisions into unequal houses was secondary development, and it was much later, as it seems, when people started to use unequal houses to address different areas of life or different subjects. So the
Okay.
so-called topical interpretation of the houses, not the dynamical, which is like angular, succeedent, or cadent, but the topical uses. So from this, I in my practice, I only use whole sign houses.
Okay. Very good.
Uh,
I agree with you, and I very nice that you say it because if I say nobody listens, but if you say it, people listen to you.
yeah, maybe, but I don't know. Well, actually I used to use a lot of different house systems.
Okay.
When I was at the beginning, I used the Placidus, like everybody else. Then I came to Archebishus, then or I also used Regimentanus and then Archebishus and things like that. But yeah, but I used all kind of
Okay.
house systems. But uh, the type of astrology I do is in this type of astrology that I do, I'm really happy with the whole sun houses,
Okay.
and also for me it's important, to have a solid theoretical grounding.
Yes.
So that's a personality stuff. You asked me
Yeah.
about this terminological introduction of my dissertation. So
Yes.
the terminological introduction of my dissertation is that I'm a really theoretical person.
Yeah.
Of course, when you do astrology, you need to be practical. But I just can't do astrology that doesn't stand on solid theoretical grounds.
Yeah.
And by theory, sorry, and just the final thought, by theory, I also mean the solid astronomical and historical grounding.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what I did, and this is an answer to many questions of you. What I did and I am doing is that I want to understand everything in astrology from the very beginnings.
Yes. Yes. And now come back to this theme, incompatibilities in the practice of astrology. How do you solve that problem?
In my actual practice,
Yes,
well, I identify the incompatibilities and I avoid them.
that's difficult because sometimes what you discard today, you might need tomorrow.
No, I don't think so. I
Oh,
don't.
okay.
I don't feel that I miss anything that I have already
So you
discovered.
have a straight concept and
Yes.
you, okay. Now,
I spent 20 years in this,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I I have I have done a lot of research. I have had a lot of time to think about the way how I would like to do my astrology. So,
Yeah, okay.
but it doesn't mean that I would say that everybody should do that at all. So, what I said and just this is very important that if you have goals, you need to have the means to reach these goals. Sometimes these means are incompatible, or sometimes they are basically erroneous, like based on some historical misunderstanding. Yeah, but this is what astrologers have always done and will always do, I think. So that's not a problem. If you as a practicing astrologer is happy with this because you can reach your aims, that's fine.
Yeah, and then I'm playing jazz on the keyboard. That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I was showing the content of your dissertation, and it's 10 elaborated cases of the astrologer of the 5th century of the Emperor Zeno. And now we can recommend to all our viewers to read it by themselves because we will not go further into your text because people can read it. Why should we do that? I recommend it very much because I really enjoyed reading it and it gave me a parallel to William Lilly, who did the same thing. He reported cases in his Christian astrology, and then you, in your video about the Byzantine astrologer, did a lot of case information. What's your impression? Are you one of the very few who document historical astrological cases, or is there a lot more that I don't know about?
Well, the thing is that if you look at different periods, you will see that the different number of actual case horoscopes have survived. So when we deal with the Babylonians, we have like 20 or so horoscopes without interpretations or with very short interpretative sections. And these are not interpretations, but copies from canonical texts. So it's a sort of interpretation aids. From Hellenistic period, we have, let's say, about 300 horoscopes, but also, a minority of these horoscopes contain any interpretations. So
Yes.
these are exceptions, and we have, of course, many exceptions like horoscopes embedded in various astrological works. But still, the extent of the interpretations vary. Um, there are mm, many unpublished Arabic, the Islamic horoscopes written in Arabic or other languages that are still in the manuscripts that should be published. But actually, at the moment, I don't know anyone who is really working on these horoscopes really
But basically,
seriously.
you are waiting for a very rich guy like Bill Gates or people like that who give you €1 million so that you can do that, right?
Well, I'm afraid I'm too old to learn Arabic properly.
Okay. Ben
Yeah.
Dykes could do it probably. Now, after your dissertation, that was in 2023, I believe, right?
Yes.
You started your horror or how do you pronounce it? Horoi
Yes.
project?
Yes. Horoi. Yes.
That started 2020 something around.
Yes, I think it started. Let me see. It started at yeah, 2020.
In the
Yes.
video with Bruce Brennan, you were talking about 2020. We will do a special video after this one today about the Horoi. So besides the Horoi project, which we will talk about in an hour and upload it an hour later. So what's other projects and personal goals, visions? Where do you want to go? The Horoi project is your basic activity now, and it gives you some sort of an income as well. What else do you do now, and what else would you like to do in the next years or decades or centuries?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Well, you know, part of my activity is devoted to Horoi Project, and I also continue my scholarly engagements. So I attend conferences when I'm invited. I write and work on papers, um, and things like that. Um, outside of normal institutional um, frameworks normally. Um,
If you
so I
had,
will.
if you could choose, and if somebody would fund you, what would be your optimal situation? What would you do if money wasn't a problem?
I would continue to do what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah,
And no special goals or projects.
I have some special goals and projects. So first of all, the Horror Project is of course is a translation project that is in it is going. Um,
And for
now
the
this
viewers, the community, the astrological community interested in the history of astrology, they thank you very much that you do that because the hindsight project we had was somewhat going away and no longer exists really. So basically, you are the only one for the community in your Horoi project where you can, for a small fee of €5, you can participate in this Horoi project and get all the texts that you translate and offer there. And I think you're the only one worldwide.
yes, but this is not a coincidence, I think.
How do you explain that hindsight didn't succeed? Apart from the problems with the three people, Robert Schmidt, Robert Hand, and Robert Zoller, they didn't get along in the necessary way to establish a real foundational project like your Hawaii project is. You are by yourself, you decide alone what's happening, what's not happening. In hindsight, they had to discuss what's happening, and they didn't succeed to stay as a team.
Well, I think it is quite simple. Um, the let's say the set of people who are interested in classical astrology, and by classical astrology I mean everything that is not strictly modern.
Yes.
Um, of this set of people, the majority of people, and it is quite understandable, would prefer to deal with already digested information. So they prefer courses, they prefer uh, more understandable videos and other forms that are more digestible for them. Reading primary sources, even in translation, is demanding. It is not very easy. And also, without context, people can get lost. So, for this very
No,
reason,
wait a minute. That's not as you describe it correctly, because people reading your text on your Horoi project, they could take additional this manual by Luis Ribeiro and Helen Avila, and this manual by Chris Brennan, and these manuals. So combining the easier digestible texts like these are that I would say these books of Luis Ribeiro and Helen Avila, Heavenly Sphere, and then Chris Brennan, Hellenistic Astrology, and Demetra George. If you take all those, I have them back in my cupboard, and if I take your texts as a starting point and I don't understand what there is, I can go to these more digestible books, and then in the combination of using the newly published by these books are published by astrologers, not by academic people. These are texts for students in the astrological courses of classical astrology. And if you combine your texts, your hard work of translating, and put them together, then your text might be more readable.
Of course, this is the case, but first you need curiosity. And some
Yes,
people
yes.
don't really have this curiosity, or they
Okay.
don't, because they don't really know what they can expect. The second thing is that when we translate, I translate in all texts, you know, it is not like you have some new values every single day. It's like doing the work in the mines. It is mostly coal, and sometimes you find a diamond.
Yes.
So so basically the final reason is that there is a smaller audience for primary sources,
Yes.
and for this very reason these sort of projects um, can't always be financially feasible. And
Yes.
that's it.
Okay. Okay.
If you go back to and you remember, the history of a project hindsight, uh, uh, the it was always about financial struggling.
Yes. 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 How about yourself? How is your financial horror project? Does it put the bread and butter on the table every day?
Well, if I wasn't doing any other things at the same time, then it would be like, let's say, borderline.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I
It
agree.
would it it would be borderline.
So
But of course,
basically,
I'm really happy with this generous support that
yeah.
my patrons give me. So that's the problem with the translation project. And this is very good that you asked me, because if you think about the history of Project Hindsight, you see that in the initial time, in the initial period, it was strictly about translations,
Yes.
and gradually it started to drift towards
Yeah.
something Schmidt's reconstruction of a system, and
Yes.
and his numerous attempts how he could reach the audience in through which medium he could reach the audience
Hmm.
of the system. And I also wondered whether, uh, especially when I had some financial difficulties, that how I could whether I should change, whether I should abandon the this character of a Horoi Project, and I should focus on more popular content instead. Because nowadays
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there are people, even on Patreon, who offer content that are more accessible for people. But then
Did
I
you?
then I,
Did
then I said that I need to stay with this translation, because if I stop doing that, there will be no other person
Yeah, okay,
who
I
does
agree on.
this.
But couldn't you think about what I was indicating? We have these thick books of Chris Brennan and Demetra George, and the smaller book of Luis Ribeiro and Elena Avila about the classical tradition. Could you think about doing some explanatory work, like you take let's say one chapter of one book, and then you take your texts with it, and then you combine this for some sort of uh, lecture or explanatory approach, and then you charge a little bit more than you charge with your patron, not 5 euros, let's say 25 euros for this part of approach. Did
Well,
you ever think about that?
yes, I've thought about different things, of
Hmm.
course. Um, at the moment, I have some engagements, and I need to write a couple of papers,
Ah,
scholarly
okay.
papers,
Okay.
which I would like to finish.
So
And
we can continue that discussion in the second video when we start again about Horoi. So let's
yeah, but it is just the plans, and then we can talk about Huawei, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
What else projects in the future are what you will do?
okay, so part of this Horoi project is not just translation, but also I produce some videos about historical developments of different astrological concepts and background, and I'm planning, I'm actually designing, and it is just a question of days. I hope that I will launch a new series, which is celestial science for astrologers,
Okay,
which means that there are different books and maybe courses about astronomy for astrologers,
I know.
which basically cover the modern astronomy, important for astrologers, or relevant for astrologers. My series is designed to be more comprehensive, and it's about the historical development, historical background, um, not just astronomy, but all other parts of celestial science, which astrology itself is part of.
And this will be on your Patreon site.
Yes, initially it will be launched there. So this is going to be the beta launch, I would say, because I
W-
expect some feedbacks.
Will it be in the basic tariff for €5, or will this be more in the where you get more money for your work?
Well, actually, my plan is that it will consist of three levels, because
Okay.
because the material is so complex that I need to progress really didactically.
So basically,
So
you will do a basic information for everybody, which is a patron for €5, and then you have these other tariffs, which is one, two, three. You have four tariffs, I believe.
yes,
So people should look up your Patreon site and become a patron, and then they will get all the information about this special astronomy for astrologers.
yes, but as I said, it is not just astronomy. It is more comprehensive, because I think that what astrologers might really miss is that the understanding of the development of the ideas,
Yes, yeah.
and how these ideas are rooted in astronomy in the general sense.
But this project is pretty soon, the beta version will be online.
Yes.
What other projects do you intend to do?
Well, the other thing is that I'm also planning to open my how to say that, my surgery.
Okay.
So yes, I think that the time has come for me to stand behind my astrological system, and to offer this a service to
So
people interested.
as a course for teaching,
You know,
online
yeah,
teaching?
for people who really need astrological help,
Oh,
consultations.
you will offer online consultations from Hungary for the whole world with your
Yes.
astrological system. When will that be available?
Well, I need I need to solve some infrastructural issues, and then
What I don't understand, you have Zoom. You can do a consultation with your computer and Zoom.
yes, but it is not only that. I need a web page that describes what I can offer, because it is not so obvious. So I'm working.
I would disagree. You can start right away. Pareto principle. You could start. I'm offering from today. Everybody who sends me an email can get a consultation for 90 minutes about his nativity, or he can ask a Kartagi question, and that costs okay, nativity €250 in Germany for 2 hours, and €90 for a Kartagi question. And send me an email, and you could start right away with Zoom, couldn't you?
Of course, in principle, it sounds good, but
Can we
I would like to
can,
give more
can we
context about
announce
my
that
service.
can we announce that here that from today you would accept ask questions like that?
No, not from today. I need to find the
Okay.
auspicious time.
Okay. Okay. So you will do a Cartaic astrology to electoral astrology when you start this project for consultation. Do you already work on that? What would be the best day for doing that?
No, as I said, that I need to solve some infrastructural issues
Oh, okay,
first,
okay,
and then
okay.
I can think about the optimal launch date.
That sounds like a good idea because their money can come to you because you will be one of the most asked delineator because you have so much background. There's not that many competitors on the market for delineation services like you intend to do who have your background. That is very
Well, thank you very much to say.
Gustav Adolf Schöner might be on your league, but I was wondering who does delineation services like we talked about with that background. That I don't think you find. Okay, Luis Ribeiro does it. He might be in your league. Uh, who else doing
Martin
this?
Gunston.
Who?
Martin Gunston.
Martin Ganston, but he is a more Yotish oriented delineator. He's more on the Indian side.
Which is normal that everybody can use their astrology.
Yeah. Okay. But other than that, uh, I don't think that Doreen Gisela Birnbaum does counseling anymore. She did when she started in America with astrology, but she doesn't do it anymore. So that's about it. Do anybody else with backgrounds
Mm,
like you, like Gunston, Ribeiro, Laszlo? I don't think, and Gustav Adolf Schön and Hanover. I don't think anybody else. So you are in a good market placement for that.
you
Strange
know,
enough, why didn't you start earlier with that? Because that was always one of your strong competences.
I mentioned that, I guess, at the first part of our conversation, that I wasn't really confident about the
Yeah,
thing that
okay.
I was doing,
Yeah,
and not
okay.
because I wasn't I couldn't do it, or
Yeah, okay.
I was unsuccessful or something like that. It is like when you know whether you are at the right place or you are not, and
Okay.
whether you are doing things that you are completely happy with or you are not. So
Okay.
basically, that was the point where I stepped back and started this academic curve, let's say,
Yes, okay.
because I found that I really want to understand all these things much better before I can really I can really say that, okay, I would do this or
Okay.
that,
That's
because
that's plausible, yeah.
because uh if I offer something, I need I feel personally, I feel that I really need to know every single aspect of it intimately.
Yes.
And not
Yes.
just that, it's also, that I need to find some solutions
Yes.
that I find morally and intellectually also acceptable personally. Uh,
Okay.
you know, there are different worldviews. There are different philosophies. There are different ideas about astrology, from the skeptics to hardcore believers.
And
Uh,
to my philosophy, which is on
and
this
to your
side.
philosophy. That's why I say that there
Yeah.
is a whole spectrum of
Yes.
people. I also have my personal conviction about astrology, what it is phenomenologically,
Yes.
and I and at the same time, I also feel that it is valuable. So it is something to be respected, but I can only do astrology that I can stand fully behind.
Yes.
And for me to find that this formulation to this approach, not just the techniques, but the whole
The whole
approach,
package. Yeah, the whole
the whole
package. Yeah.
package, the whole
Uh-huh.
package, so that I spent many years, about 2 decades, until I could reach that. and actually I just reached it the final form really recently.
Okay.
So that's why I'm
Let me
here.
ask you. Let me ask you this: will this be a cathartic service, or do you intend to do nativities as well?
Well, actually, I will offer two types of things. The first thing is that when there is an actual problem, and this actual problem requires some action, but the client doesn't know which action would be
Yeah,
most
this
preferable.
cathartic, the typical
Yes,
cathartic.
this is a typical cathartic. So this is, call it cathartic, Horoi, or any type
Yeah. Well,
of
horror is part
astrology.
of horror is
Yes,
part of cathartic.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. The other thing is when we look ahead of a period. So not a specific issue, but a period.
So prognostication.
Yes, a prognostication, and of course that's also about action, because in the foreground of my astrological thinking and my astrological preference is actionability.
Okay.
So whether so if there is action to be done, and this action can range from fully autonomous decisions, constrained by nothing, to the other extreme, which is just mental preparation for something and
Yes.
nothing else.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so the second thing is looking ahead of a period.
But
Let's say,
that's still more or less cathartic, right?
well, in this case, it is not
Sort
cathartic.
of, sort of.
It is not exactly cathartic astrology. In this case, it is uh, natal prediction. So it is about revolutions and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But it's not a delineation of the nativity as such.
No, because nativity is needed only as background in this
Yeah.
case.
Okay. Okay.
But
I
uh,
understand.
but but for this very purpose, it is not. It doesn't need any inspection.
Any ideas about the tariffs? For example, in Germany, what you just described would take about 200 to 300 euros for fee. That's what people of your caliber would have to charge to be seriously because that's what it's worth. Okay. What's your goal? Will you be on that level, or will you be not so high tariff, more 200 euros or 100 euros for a consultation?
Well, actually, I haven't decided on the pricing yet, so I can't
Would
really.
you agree with me that you are in the league of typical consultation with a psychology approach, like that's 250 euros at least, or 500 euros? If you go to a classical homeopath, that's 500 euros for the first session. I would think that what you're intending to do is on the quality level comparable, so you should charge the same fee. But the problem might be that might not be marketplace compatible.
Well, this is a big question. This
Yeah.
this is a very big question. Of course, prices, offline prices in Germany, or I don't know, people who already have their fame as practicing astrologers,
Yes.
and word flies about them. Of course, this is a completely different issue. Um,
And you have to
I,
differentiate. If you offer it for Hungarians in a personal setting, the price must be
I
completely
want
different. Oh, you are only online.
only online.
But
Yes,
then you are on the international marketplace, and there you can compare with everybody from New Zealand to South America. So
in
basically,
principle.
all you have to find out is what is the market situation for this quality, because it doesn't exist like that.
Well, the thing is that when it comes to prices, I would like to make it affordable. I mean, it is not.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's cheap.
So you
It
don't
means
want
it.
you don't want to charge what it's worth, but you want to
No, I
charge it
would. I would.
so
No, I would say that I would don't want to charge
400 euros. Yeah.
unrealistic.
Well, it's not
unrealistic.
unrealistic. 400 euros is what professionals with that quality, that's their tariff everywhere in the world. But in the astrological marketplace, there will not be that many customers who can afford that. And that's your
That's
approach. That's your
that,
approach.
that's what I say. That's what
Yeah.
I say. And also, the important thing is that it is just um, service, because my idea is that doing research in astrology is good, but also there are people who I believe could benefit from being applied astrology on their issues,
Yeah.
and 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 this is what is the drive in the background.
Yes. Okay.
So people tend to think that if there is someone who translates texts or writes scholarly articles about astrology, these people know only the theoretical aspect
Okay.
of astrology.
So when,
In my case, it is not. This is not true, because
yeah,
as I said, I have been practicing astrology for more than 30 years now. Um, I haven't offered it as a public service because I did, for the reasons I already gave
yeah,
you.
yeah,
But I think uh, this is an offer for people who have genuine need. This is going to be the smaller part of my daily activities in any ways. So I am not going to go full-term
yeah, okay.
astrologer, you know,
Well, you might have a
nine to
problem.
five.
You might have a problem there. If I'm right and the quality is as high as I anticipate it will be, and then the first consultation people talk about it on Facebook and Twitter and X and TikTok and Instagram, you might have the problem like other people have that there is too much demand, and then you have to say, I'm sorry, I can't because there's so much interest in that. How would you react to that? Would you go full time if the demand was that high?
Not very likely. Not very likely. Instead, I would provide some education.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, if you have decided when to launch it and you want to do a video about it, just give me an email and we will do another video about the starting launch and the reasons why you started it at that minute, at that place, and why you came to this electional astrology result. That
All
might be
right.
interesting.
All right.
Okay, other projects beside what we talked about.
Well, these are the most important projects.
And
So these are
what are
all
the less important projects?
uh, that's a very good
I'm a
question.
lawyer from profession.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I should know that. I should keep it in mind. No, it is not about importance. I guess when it is about timing. So the first thing is that I would like to launch this celestial science for astrologers,
For for
because
the
it's
Horoi Project,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. So on three different levels, but starting with the very basics, and later on, I would like to, when the whole is complete, I would like to offer it as standalone course. So like any other online course that
Yes.
you can enroll at. And of course, this astrological service I also mentioned to you, but I have some longer term goals as well. So, for example, you asked me about whether I was thinking of putting together some secondary source about astrology.
Yeah.
I have a longer term goal to write a monograph about Hellenistic astrology,
So
and in this case,
basically, you are intending to write uh, a competing work to Hellenistic astrology of Chris Brennan, but
no,
with the background of the academic background.
no, this is going to be an academic book.
Oh, it's going to be academic fully.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that sounds very interesting. Okay. And when now we have covered all the projects, or is there still something left?
I guess that we have covered everything.
Okay. So for the viewers, the next video will be only on the Horoi Project, so watch it when it's online. Today, this video was about the dissertation about this anonymous astrology of Emperor Zeno and the 10 cases. Should we talk a little bit more about the dissertation, or did we cover it as far as you wanted to cover it?
Well, I guess that we have covered everything that was interesting on this level. I can also recommend that everybody read that dissertation, the parts that they are interested in.
It's very
So
interesting to read, and it's a very good, especially people of the classical tradition will enjoy reading about these cases because they learn a lot about it, about the practice.
Yes, I also wanted to give really lengthy commentaries on
Yes,
the
you did, yeah.
delineations themselves to show
Yeah.
the how the astrologer worked.
And what people can do, which is take this PDF, and instead of printing it, in Germany, they can go to BOD Norderstedt, and there is a category fun project, and then they print the book in a book form on the same DIN A4 format. You can't change the form because it's the PDF, but you have to add a couple of blank pages, and then they send you back 6 weeks later. You get it as a book, and not this loose thing.
Salads.
So Biodin, I make public relation for Biodin Norderstedt. I enjoy them when they print it. You can even print this thing as hardcover with the best quality of a book available. Okay, so for now, I thank Levente László for
You can do
doing.
this.
No, wait a minute. I am talking about this quality. This.
Oh yes, that makes a difference.
That is quality, and then you can get it in hardcover. But if you do it in well, this costs about. This is Gary Phillips in the PDF of his dissertation, Astrology and Truth. That is 400 pages. So if you do this in paperback, that costs about 15 to 20 euros. If you do it in hardcover in the best quality, you pay 80 euros about it. So you can get everything, but you have it in, this. This is not my opinion of quality to read.
Yeah, well, I can understand you completely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the name of the viewers and myself, thank you very much for this first video.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
I will now stop the recording, and we continue in about 20 minutes with the second video. I stop the recording. I do this here.